One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious.
Have you ever wondered why certain shadows seem heavier than the body that casts them? As if a silent abyss has begun to devour your light from the inside out? There is a phenomenon that occurs in the deepest layers of being, where the light of consciousness starts to retreat, leaving behind a shell that breathes and speaks, but no longer recognizes its own reflection in the mirror of eternity. This numbness you're carrying isn't an ordinary silence, but a muffled scream from something that was buried alive inside you, and now demands to be unearthed before the last flame goes out completely. We inhabit an architecture of illusions, where we've been conditioned to believe that emptiness is a flaw, when in reality, it is proof that your soul has decided to sabotage your ordinary life so that you could finally see the invisible. If you feel like you've become a stranger in your own story, watching the world as if it were a distant, colorless projection, know that you have crossed the threshold of a desert that few have the courage to name. There is a conspiracy of the universe happening at the center of your apathy, and every second of indifference is a piece of a puzzle being put together without your conscious consent until this very moment. Many seek to fill this gap with disposable noise and fleeting pleasures, without realizing that the cup must be absolutely empty so that the substance of true life can be poured in without contamination. What you interpret as an internal death is, in reality, a forced fasting of the soul, a strategic withdrawal of vital energies into an inner sanctuary you've forgotten how to access. There is a harsh alchemy being operated in your depths, transforming the suffocating weight of your desolation into the raw material for a revelation that will permanently change how you perceive time and space. You are being led to the edge of a spiritual cliff where the laws of human logic lose their meaning and only the naked truth can survive the fall. There are 10 ancient keys that guard the portals of this metamorphosis, and each one of them demands a sacrifice of something you still consider essential to your identity. The emptiness that haunts you isn't a punishment imposed by fate, but the only gateway to the infinite ether, where shadows dissolve to make way for the direct manifestation of a will that you aren't even conscious of possessing yet. Don't let the illusion that tomorrow will be different distract you from the absolute urgency that this moment demands. For the door that opened to this knowledge can close just as suddenly as it appeared. If you neglect a single stage of this resurrection process, you risk remaining adrift in an eternal waiting room where light is just a distant memory and emptiness becomes your only permanent companion. The mystery of what dwells in your silence is about to be unveiled, and from this point on, your voluntary blindness is no longer an option, as we dive into the heart of what it truly means to awaken. The first step in crossing the fog that has settled over your eyes is to recognize that the soul has winter seasons just as harsh as those in nature, where life doesn't die, but retreats to the roots. You've been fighting this withdrawal as if it were an enemy, without realizing that this paralysis is the womb of your next version, when joy dissolves and only the dry weight of daily life remains. Your essence is, in fact, forcing a divorce from all the lies you told yourself, just to be accepted. The emptiness you carry is the price of your authenticity, trying to break through the shell of an ego that no longer serves you. How many times have you pretended your fire was lit, just so you wouldn't bother the cold of those around you? It is in this forced isolation that the soul begins to purify its desires, separating the noise of the world from your primordial sound. You feel dead because you stopped feeding the character you created, and the truth is, that character needed to die so that the actor could finally shine. There is nothing wrong with feeling nothing, as long as you understand that nothingness is the blank canvas where divinity begins to paint. The dark night isn't a dead-end tunnel, but a laboratory of shadows where the lead of your apathy is being cooked over a slow fire. You can feel the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. That uncomfortable space where the ground has disappeared and the wings haven't opened yet. It takes courage to hold your gaze before this inner abyss and not turn away toward cheap distractions that promise a quick fix. The cure isn't in filling the space, but in the total understanding of the lack, in the acceptance that this desert has something to teach you that no garden would ever dare to say. You are being prepared for a frequency that demands an absolute detachment from all the emotional anchors that kept you in the shallows. In this deep dive, you will find fragments of yourself that were abandoned in dark corners of your past. Pieces of soul that got stuck in traumas you swore you had moved past. The numbness that haunts you is the mechanism these fragments use to call for your attention. Like ghosts knocking on the door, asking to be integrated. You walk through the world with a sense of incompleteness because you left vital parts of your life energy behind in hands that didn't know how to care for them. Every unresolved heartache and every silenced fear acts like an invisible drain, pulling your vitality into a time that no longer exists. How is it possible to be alive in the now? If half of your being is still trying to resolve a conflict from 10 years ago? The journey back to the source demands that you revisit these ruins, not to suffer again, but to reclaim your heritage and bring it back into the light of the present. Spiritual emptiness occurs when the distance between what you do and what you are becomes an unbridgeable chasm. You have been living to satisfy the expectations of a system that feeds on your exhaustion and your voluntary blindness. The cry of the soul is silent, but it echoes in your bones, causing this existential fatigue that no sleep can cure. You are in a state of forced sensory fasting because the universe decided you've already consumed enough poison under the label of entertainment and success. It is a detoxification process of the consciousness, where the bitter taste of loneliness is the necessary medicine to cleanse your spiritual palate. The disorientation you feel is your soul's navigation system being recalibrated to point toward the north that truly matters. You are losing the references of the material world so that you can find the coordinates of the inner realm, which is vast and unexplored. By reaching the center of this emotional whirlpool, you will realize that your fragility is, in fact, your point of greatest strength, because it's where the armor cracked that the light finally enters. There is no real control over the cycles of life, only the illusion of security that fear builds to keep us small and predictable. The chaos you feel inside is divine order being established at an octave above your current logical understanding. You are being invited to abandon the role of the victim of fate, to take up the position of co-creator of your own ethereal reality. The fear of emptiness is the fear of freedom, because without the old definitions of who you are, you can be absolutely anything. This internal death is the great liberation from the invisible chains that shaped your desires and limited your vision of what is possible. You feel the pulse of a new life trying to break through your skin, an urgency that doesn't come from the body, but from the spirit that grew tired of crawling. The transmutation of pain into wisdom is the only path left for those who have crossed the point of no return in this existence. You are no longer alone in this process, for your silence now resonates with the silence of all those who awakened before you. There is an invisible network of consciousness that supports those who have the audacity to face their own darkness without shrinking back. The discomfort you feel now is the engine of your evolution, the pressure necessary for the coal of your ego to transform into the diamond of your pure essence. You are learning to breathe in a thinner atmosphere, where truth is the only source of oxygen available. The mystery that once terrified you now begins to become your home, because you've understood that uncertainty is the only terrain where faith can truly walk. The keys to your resurrection are hidden in the folds of your own suffering, waiting for you to stop running and start asking what they have to reveal. Emptiness is no longer an abyss that devours you, but the portal that takes you back to the home you should have never left. Every step taken toward this truth is one more beat in the heart of a new being born through you at this very moment. Now that the waters of your consciousness have been stirred, what remains is not the mud of the past, but the transparency of someone who has finally stopped fighting their own depth. You realize that emptiness was never your enemy, but the sacred space the universe reserved so that you could, for the first time, listen to the sound of your own essence without the interference of the world. This journey we've traveled doesn't end when the screen goes dark. It only begins to echo in the corridors of your silence, whispering truths that you've always known, but that fear kept you from embracing. The weight you felt wasn't the death of your life, but the birth of a freedom that doesn't depend on anything external to shine. You are leaving this encounter with a new internal architecture, where every spiritual scar has become a crack through which light now flows with an authority that no one can erase. That feeling of being dead inside revealed itself as the necessary withdrawal of the seed that needs the darkness of the earth to break its own shell and reach the sun. How many certainties are you leaving behind now? And how much beauty is there in the uncertainty of being someone who finally allowed themselves not to know everything? The desert you feared crossing has been transformed into the altar where you sacrificed your old identity to reclaim your purest, non-negotiable truth. Take with you the image of an ocean that, even in the midst of the most violent storm, keeps in its depths a peace that nothing can disturb. For that is where your real strength lies. From today on, every moment of silence will no longer be a threat, but an invitation to return to that place where you and the ether are a single, continuous, and eternal vibration. Do not let the noise of others drown out the subtle melody you've just rediscovered in your chest, for it is the compass that will guide your steps toward your highest purpose. You are no longer the same traveler who started this video, because the light you sought outside has finally accepted to dwell on the inside. Always remember that the universe makes no mistakes, and that your emptiness is, in fact, your greatest creative power waiting for your sovereign command. There is immense power in recognizing your own fragility, for it is there that divine strength finds space to act and transform the dust of exhaustion into the glow of transcendence. May this experience remain alive in you like a flame that doesn't burn, but illuminates the dark corners of doubt with the certainty that you are infinite. The only distance between you and your wholeness was the illusion that you needed something you didn't already possess. Since the very first breath of your soul, if this encounter touched that part of you that is rarely visited, if something within your being trembled in recognition of these truths, do not let this flame go out with the next distraction. This channel is a sanctuary for those who, like you, have chosen the courage to awaken and the wisdom to seek what is invisible to ordinary eyes. If you feel that you are part of this frequency and that your journey gains strength when we walk together, leave your mark in this space. Subscribe to the Etherly so you don't miss the next signs. Like this video as a seal of your commitment to the light, and share this awakening with those who still wander in the shadows. Your comment down below isn't just a word. It's the manifestation of your presence in this collective awakening. The greatest mystery of life isn't what happens after death, but what happens when you decide to truly live before it arrives.